Dear Minister, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in March this year, the jury presented its unanimous decision to give the International Ibsen Award 2016 to the British theatre group Forced Entertainment. And I will now read from the committee's statement. Forced Entertainment have created their own performative space within the history of theatre. Here, theatrical conventions are played out and they are torn apart. This influential group recognizes theatre as a central voice within society and with dedication uses theatre as an arena for public debate, an open, reflexive and poetic space with ethical and social value. Since the group was founded in Sheffield in 1984, Forced Entertainment have spent over 30 years creating theatre that asks questions and fuels dreams. The company is an inspiration to performers everywhere, creating exquisitely profound theatre out of nothing more than actors speaking to an audience from a bare stage. For 3 decades, the British collective have explored surprising, provoking, and captivating means of creating performances that blur the boundaries between theatre and reality. Under the direction of Tim Etchells, the company has developed an entirely new relationship between production and audience, and between new narrative strategies and new theatrical forms. While the experimental group's artistic style is far from that of Ibsen's contemporary drama, the societal perspective inherent within the group's performances is much closer. Because Forced Entertainment's theatre is part of society, it influences society and is able to change it for the performance duration. The audience is drawn into the alternative reality of the group's theatrical creations in a highly unusual and freeing manner. Forced Entertainment's work does not rest with a single form, style, or tradition, but represents a seeking and revivifying force, a continual creative exploration of what the theatre is and can be, in a way that has changed the theatre's possibilities. An award to Forced Entertainment is therefore an award to the entire dynamic, challenging, and collective process that is theatre, and to what theatre might be in the future. The committee has therefore chosen to honor this continually surprising and not least entertaining theatre group because Forced Entertainment revive and challenge the theatre and recognize and utilize the power inherent in the art form. Thank you.
At the age of 18, 30 years ago, when I first saw their early work, Let the Water Run Its Course to the Sea That Made the Promise, I sat frozen in the theatre as the audience filed out, unable to leave my seat, speechless too, knowing I had just witnessed something that took apart all the lazy assurances of contemporary theatrical work and replaced them with forms derived from necessity and urgency. Raw, desirous, real people there, bodies striving without reason or goal in a bare world made by luminous, broken poetry. A dystopia that felt like the inner world of that present time. A theatre, finally, that spoke with the time, a time of longing for another world, of possibility and love, beyond the impoverished, dysfunctional, and violent realities of those mid-1980s days. A warmongering surveillance state was brutalizing internal enemies, laying waste to countless lives. Rampant corporations were spawning greed and vast inequality, and the government was selling off the welfare state. All was accounting for those who counted and those who simply didn't count. Forced Entertainment's theatre was born in this context and its counterculture. History hasn't stopped repeating itself. Amidst this latest wave of corporate ideology and control society, isolationism, intolerance, and fear, forced entertainment continue to remind us of other kinds of values in life, values that come not from the willful, robust, all-consuming and defensive self, but from the experience of subjection and dispossession, from alienation and non-belonging, from the precarious community of those who have nothing in common. As a too frequent audience member, at some point in those 30 years, I got invited to come and see an early run-through of a show, and another world of forced entertainment opened up. It's hard for occasional visitors, outsiders like myself, to really get what's going on with them, so long as the process, so particular their language, so obscure the way it moves in fits and starts, rewinds and fast forwards, in endless versions and revisions of morphing worlds. And at some stage later, I realized that this was the point. The work comes from the collective unconscious of a constantly shifting, opening social organism, perhaps the last vestiges of that old micro-society or queer family, the theatre troupe, the traveling band. And if I had to count the years, to say what really counts in 30 years, it would be this: to have endured in this space of invention together, with all its difficulties, ruptures, and regatherings, a way to be an artist in the world on the long-haul flight of a slow collective experiment in attentiveness to the emergent thing between us. So I simply want to say thank you, forced entertainment, for the delicate melancholy and the twisted emotions and the raging explosions and the shabby razzmatazz. Thank you for going on too long, for staying up all night, for seeing what comes from utter exhaustion, the endless questions and the story without end. And thank you for the ineffable feeling of ending before it really is the end, the many, many ends. Thank you, Kathy, Richard, Claire, Robin, Terry, Tim, for all these unnameable experiences and inexplicable atmospheres. Thank you for the dark heart of things, for the joy in catastrophe, and thank you for a lame theatrical prop cloud that silently drifts across a sundered world. I could look at that cloud for 30 years. For these things, amongst 1,000 other tiny shards of memory, sparks of life, of passion, spirit, and love, thank you.
The Ibsen Award is an important part of the Norwegian international theatre policy to celebrate our best dramatists, but also Ibsen's spirit of seeking truth and freedom. It is no doubt forced entertainment are very deserving of this year's award. I hope it will inspire you to continue your efforts. I wish you the best of the luck in the future.
To the walkouts, thanks. To the hecklers, thanks. To the door slammers, yes, thanks. Thanks to those that stayed, thanks to those that supported and those that said no, thanks. Thanks to those that watched live or via internet streaming, tweeting along from nearby time zones or identical time zones or on the other side of the world. To those that talked in bars and streets and foyers, thanks. To those that wrote letters, blogs, postcards, messages, thanks. And to those that nodded, thanks. And thanks again to those that slipped away in a hurry for a train or whatever, and only took memory with them as story, picture, or question.
And thanks to the performance makers we watched across more than 32 years. Thanks to those other artists, some of them friends that inspired, challenged, taught, and annoyed, distracted, and provoked us.
For the daily work of sorting shit out. Thanks.
Thanks to those who improvised long hours with us over 32 years, from the start until now. Thanks to those that tried with us, forgot lines with us, hit a groove with us in some improvisation or another.
For the works yet unmade, for the people we've yet to meet, encounters with audiences, for the life, blood, and politics you can still get out of theatre. A stone heart, a broken art, better for being broken.
Thanks for the struggle with the times over 32 years, from Thatcher to Brexit, we might say, from Reagan to the prospect of Trump, from one austerity to another, from one isolation to another via globalization and global warming, from one sour politics to another, from one xenophobia to another, from one crisis to another, from then, there, to here, now. For this moment in this room, in this place, at this time, thanks. For this prize, thanks. For the watching and the drawing of breath, for the marking of connection and the puncture of distance between. Thanks, really, thanks.